You want a better life for yourself, it is upon you to have a better life for yourself. You
100%.
cannot blame anybody for your own actions or your own decisions. Past 1969,
I was gonna say,
so
I don't.
when they say Black Lives Matter and all this and discrimination and this stuff, yeah, you got one or two bad eggs here or there. Don't blame that. That's corporal punishment. You don't do corporal punishment. That's against the Geneva Convention of 1945.
Right.
So why is it in society that the second something happens, Dupley Wright, guy in New York, shoots a guy because he was robbing his store, and he's the one that gets in trouble and is getting indicted for it?
Yeah,
That's wrong.
He was defending himself.
So when did the lines get crossed?
Merged.
That we are. The media has divided us so much and given so much toxic
100%.
information along with social media and everything else.
Right.
Your social feed is developed by an algorithm.
I was gonna
For
say too.
you.
Yeah.
Not for you to learn, for what you like.
Yes. And
Life's not for you to like. Understanding is not for you to like.
Yes.
Part of
It's
all
unfair.
of this.
And people need to understand that life
Life
is
is
not
so
fair.
unfair.
Okay, then quit victimizing yourself.
Exactly, 100%.
I get that. No, I agree with that. No, I agree with that. No, I agree
That's
with
why
that
I don't
100%.
like BLM. That's why I don't like any of those. I don't owe them anything. I'm in the life I'm in because I've made my way into it. So
My
can
generation is so sensitive to offending people, which is why I was saying, like, I don't want to offend anybody, but if people get offended, they get offended. My generation is so sensitive to offending people because my generation also takes extreme measures to get back at the people that have offended
They
them.
cancel you.
They
So why
cancel
can't
you.
we
They
cancel the
cancel
company?
you. Exactly.
100%.
They cancel you, but
Go
they
with
won't
this.
cancel the government because it's so much
Sit back
easier to
for a
cancel to an individual than it is to cancel a giant corporation.
Is it though?
And that's ridiculous. It is. It's easier to cancel an individual in our society right now with our
actually, yes, I will
generation.
give you that. Yeah.
In our generation, in our society right now, it is easier to cancel a single
Basically,
individual, a single person,
Oh, I mean,
over an entire corporation that is made up of so many people. It is easier to single out the one person. That happened with, I don't want to get into Roe v. Wade. That's not what I want to get into. But it happened with Roe v. Wade that a lot of people were canceling the people who were on the Supreme Court to do it.
Yeah.
They went as far as doxing them, using their credit cards, all sorts of things, which I think personally, like, I get it. Have your stance about Roe v. Wade. Have your stance about it. Believe in it. Protest it. Whatever. You do not need to hurt these people's livelihoods,
Right.
whether you like them or not. You know,
Right.
I'm not going to put my stance on what I think about Roe v. Wade, but whether you like them or not, you should not hurt these people's livelihood because they are not, they're doing their job.
Yeah.
Their job is about opinions. You know, that is their job. It is about opinions. It is their opinion, what they believe and what they want to do. That is the job that they were put in. Why would you hurt them because they're hurting you? And I get it, you know. I have a stance on Roe v. Wade that probably follows a lot of what people are thinking about Roe v. Wade. I don't agree with it. I know I just said I wasn't going to say anything. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with Roe v. Wade. I don't agree that it got overturned. As a woman, I think it's ridiculous. I think that it's terrible that they are trying to control, because it's an umbrella law. It controls a lot of other things, and it's
100%.
ridiculous and it's hard to get into. But why would you go so far to dox people? Why would you go so far to, hurt these people? Because they have families. Their families had nothing to do with what the single person did.
Right.
okay.
And that's terrifying because that can happen to anybody, and that's what happens to individuals that get cancer.
On the Roe v. Wade, what we're seeing today, the division, that's never going to end. Then, if we could go back, which, by the way, I was 5 when September 11th happened. But if we can go to September 12th,
Yes.
2001, the
Wait, you were
unity
5?
we had there.
Why can't we go back to that?
The unity I've seen in that moment on September 12th,
There
Is
was
unity we
no,
need.
there was no religion.
No.
There was no color.
No.
There was no nationalities. We were all one people.
why can't we go back to it?
Why can't we go back to that? There was no.
Because
I'm
it's easy to do it.
no,
It's
I'm
easy to do.
straight,
Well, I
no,
was
I'm
9
this,
months old
no,
when it
I'm
happened.
that.
I
And
actually
it's
have like my own little story
literally-
about that. Like I was almost on a plane that like we had to like get off the plane, and it might not have been anything to do with 9/11. Somebody might have been trying to take advantage of 9/11 happening, but we weren't allowed to get on the plane to come back to Oklahoma, me and my mother, because they had to have a bomb squad go through, and somebody was escorted off with a bomb on that particular plane. Not saying that it had anything to do with 9/11, but somebody took the coincidence and stuff, which was the other side of like 9/11 happening. That was like really shitty. But after that, it's just that one thing of like everybody was able to be communitized the next day after. But it's easy to do at one time for our generation, for not our generation, our society, us as humans. But to do that every single day, for us now, it asks too much. People just can't do that. There are people that are too selfish to be able to give themselves out every single day.
I gotta disagree with that. I do. Look at October, or look in 2011 when Osama bin Laden got killed. We reunited again.
But again, that's one time at a time. It's not every single day throughout our lives.
Why can't?
Because we're too selfish to. It's too hard. That's what I was trying to get at. That's what I was trying to get at. We have to be intentional about it. That's what I was trying to get at.
And there's nobody intentional to do anything.
No.
That's what I was trying to get at. So I was trying to agree with you.
About free will.
100%.
So we can go
There is
into
a
religion
double-edged
with that.
sword. There is literally a double-edged sword about that.
I can't go into religion about that. Like, you guys can talk
No,
about religion, but
I
I
just
will
gotta
keep
throw
my
it out there. I
mouth
was like, that
shut.
opens the door for religion.
I will
right
keep my
there
mouth
for
shut
you.
because I probably will not agree with anything y'all say because of my views about religion.
Which
I'm
is fine,
agnostic, so I
So
believe
is my
that.
wife.
Well, you know, like I believe there's a higher power, but I don't believe that any particular religion is correct because it's all by
It's not.
human mouth for when we don't
There
think
is
you.
there is not a single religion in this world that is tied to a proven fact. I will say this though, when it comes to Christianity, and the reason I say this is because I base it off facts
Yes.
and history.
Well, then that used to be Christian.
They have found the exact hill where Jesus was crucified.
Right, yes.
They have the exact plot. The stone still stands there where
Right.
he was proven guilty.
And that's
They
Great.
found
They
they
know where
found
the
Noah's
king's
Ark
at.
as well.
Yes,
that's-
they did.
that's-
It's in
They found old cherry
Switzerland.
wheels and
And they found the olive tree.
that's great and that's awesome.
just like
And I understand that and I believe those facts, but until other facts are proven about any other sort of part of the Bible or religion or
Oh, no,
whatever,
that's
any
incorrect.
other
Okay,
religions,
so they
it's
found
just,
dinosaurs. Do you know dinosaurs were literally in the Bible?
yes. I
And
know
they
that.
are
I
in
used
the
to be
Quran.
Christian.
it's like,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
the
yeah.
Tower of Babel.
Yes.
They
Yeah,
know where
yeah.
that's at. They know where it's at.
Aliens are in the Bible?
It's in Pakistan.
We're
Did
not
you
talking
just-
about
Did you
aliens.
just say aliens?
Hi, Paul.
Aliens are in the Bible?
Train of thought.
How's that?
Nikki just kind of blows everything up.
Oh, she loves to talk about aliens. Aliens is his like favorite
So-
thing.
We can get into that a little bit later.
Oh my gosh, I will
Rose!
argue with you. I will argue with you so hard about aliens.
On the total span that we're going on here, if you look at the actual historical facts, yes, they have found his brother, for Christ's sakes. It is true.
100%.
Wait, brother?
No, yes.
Whose brother?
Jesus.
Jesus's.
Jesus had a brother?
Yes.
I was a Christian for a very small amount of my life, okay? No, hold on. Let me explain this. I was a Christian for a very small amount of my life when I was a child. They only taught us, I went to Church of Christ, okay? So it was a very different denomination. I went to Church of Christ. They only taught us about Jesus. They wouldn't tell us, or God, they wouldn't tell us about anything really extra unless it had to do actively with Jesus.
Okay.
Actively with God. So that's why I didn't know that.
Okay.
So like, they found his brother.
Yes. Listen.
They've proven where he stood. They have found a spot within where he stood. They know. We can get into Catholicism later because that's the biggest cult ever. But
Aside from Mormons.
they know where they found all these historical. I didn't hear that.
she's good except for Mormons.
I said aside from Mormons.
Oh, that is the stupidest. Sorry to offend anybody, but I'm not.
I told you the channel's not for you if you get offended easy.
We can get into that here in a minute.
You can believe whatever you
Yeah,
want.
this is
But
one of those things. If you believe
we have
it, then
our
you
own
believe
opinion.
it. It's a very opinionated
Well, I look
thing.
at it as history.
Yeah, if you have to go
I mean,
back
if you
into
look
that
at the
history
burning
background,
bush,
you know.
If you look at the burning bush or this or that, that's a little weird. I don't really, that kind of.
It's
but
very
you also bring up Adam and
fantastical,
Eve.
you know.
Okay, so in the Bible it is believed Adam and Eve, right?
100%.
Right.
Now, if you look at the Jewish side of it, you got Lilith, which is Adam's first wife.
Yes.
Okay. Either way, that's 3 people. 1 man, 2 women, right?
Yeah.
100%.
If you look at that and then you look at Egypt and how inbred that shit is, how the hell are we all not related?
We are
No, we are.
related.
Okay, here's the thing with that. Here's the
We
thing with that.
all are related.
If you believe in any any religion at all that starts from whatever, at least from the religions that I know of. We are so inbred that we have to all be related. We have to all be related because we started from 2.
Yeah.
In whatever religion
Okay,
we
we started from 2, and then Jonah happened. Yeah?
Yes.
Right.
So completely wiped off, except for his family.
Yep.
Yeah?
Which is then more inbred.
Which is inbred.
That's what I'm saying. It's so yes.
I'm just saying,
So
we're
we're
all
all
related.
related.
So why don't we just all just chill the fuck out? I mean,
No. Okay. Wait. No.
It's
No.
also-
No. 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 No.
It's, it's also the fact that this is something that
saying.
America has to accept.
I'm just saying. Love
I'm
your
really
brother,
gonna
love
piss
your
all people
sister.
off.
But not.
Yeah.
You know, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
though.
No. I know. I know.
There's just things that be kind to one another.
Yeah.
Of course.
So,
Just human decency.
Yes.
so what else that
You
is?
guys. You guys. Talk.
I apologize. She's drank too much.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. I barely had any of what I just.
Except
I
for-
Okay.
What'd you have before you got here because you spilled your first drink?
hadn't
That
even had anything.
is true.
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
I just, okay, no, so I have hand issues with my motor skills and stuff, so
Yeah.
I will just like, and that's why I'm like really careful about having stuff over things, because I can hold something, and then if I get anxious enough, or like, you know, I've never been here before,
Yeah.
so I was really anxious, so my hands literally just like,
I got you.
so that was, obviously it was still my fault, but like, I didn't mean for
No, I
it to
got you.
happen,
I
you
got
know?
you.
But it's not because of drinking.
No, yeah.
I'm good. I
Uh,
promise.
so I mean, yeah, there are so many truths
I just love
within it that you can't prove it wrong. There's no way to prove it wrong. But another thing that they gotta understand was he wasn't white.
No, he wasn't.
Are you?
Why are they making
Say that
him
again?
white? He wasn't white.
Are we talking about
Jesus
Jesus?
was not
Yes.
white.
No. Okay. Yeah. No.
No.
If the area of the world he was in,
He's Middle East.
Yes.
Would have been in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Yes. And probably about yay tall.
Probably a little bit more.
About 5'2".
Mm,
No, that was the average height at that time.
I'm thinking like 5'7".
that's kinda-
Like my height.
yeah.
5'2" to 5'5" was the average height at that time.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. I would have never thought them being that
I
short.
never thought about that. I never thought about their height.
But-
to be
but-
honest.
Oh no, I have.
Except for Goliath.
Okay, so they
because of
found-
that reason.
Yeah.
But they found giants. They have found.
Oh
skeletal
yeah,
remains.
there are. It's in the Bible
Were you all
too.
talking about why Jesus is white?
He's
He's
not.
not.
No, he's
He's
not
not
white.
white. That's my point. That's my point.
He's Middle Eastern.
I have no. He is, but I have art facts about that. If you guys didn't know that, so basically the reason why we have the depiction that we have of Jesus now is because of an Italian artist who was basically saying "f you" to the church, made it in his own image, and then the church was like, "No, this is too."
Okay.
You know, too beautiful, and so then another person, they hired another person, and that particular artist was like, F you, I can't remember the artist. And so it was done in their image, so that's why we have this image now that Jesus is white. But that was because they were trying to say F you to the church.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring my boyfriend's stuff into this.
Safe?
Yeah, he's
Not Steph.
safe. He's my fiance actually.
Oh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Story time later.
Later. So literally, Jesus literally has a freaking line.
Yes,
Okay.
he has a son.
Yeah, he has
when you see
children.
the
He
church,
has a
when you
line.
see this,
And these people are literally there in Middle Eastern, and they are light-skinned and absolutely beautiful. They look like angels. Okay, I'm not pretending.
I got you.
I'm going by what he's saying. And there's literally a tribe,
Yes.
which is from Jesus's line, that these people look like this.
so what people.
So he
can't
may
figure out-
be white, but regardless of him looking the way that he does, he was Arabic 100%, spoke Arabic,
Yeah,
everything.
you ain't gonna walk over speaking English and that.
Oh,
That's
absolutely
fine.
not.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe 100% of
But-
what he says,
So when
because it's proven.
that's why I've always had.
This is
a
what
hard-
people say would be really good on
Time.
the debate too, and I don't get it.
I've had a very hard time.
I was asking him if he
Because I look
wanted
at-
to say something because he was staring super intently, and he said, I don't have anything to say. And I was like, all right. And then he was like, you're doing good. And I was like, well, people have told me that I should have done debate in high school, but...
Babe, do you want to come in here?
have literally nothing to talk about or add.
He'll talk about aliens. If we move on to aliens later, he will have so much to say to argue with me about aliens.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
My thing is, when you look at religion as a whole,
Mhm.
you look at the Aztecs, you look at the Egyptians, they all have their gods. The Greeks, everything has their gods. Who,
It's all from the same.
and then you go into the Crusades and all that. If you look at history in a whole, they've all had their beliefs because they've all been. It wasn't written down for so long that it's all been brought down.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly. It's all
100%.
stories, which
You look
is
at all
something that, like, yeah.
Have you guys ever played telephone?
Oh my God!
Exactly, that
It
is
is
my main
always
point.
something freaking different.
That is my main point about religion and why I'm agnostic, is because it is all brought down from human mouth until we could record it, and then from then on it was still recorded in like telephone and stuff. And that is why I'm agnostic, because there are hard facts, but then there are a lot of things that don't have hard facts because it was all brought to each other by mouth, by story, and that's why it makes me skeptical, but I still respect people who believe in religion, and I do still also believe in higher power, because where else am I
I
going
want
to
to
go?
get your point on this because I know how you was raised. I know how I was raised.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
was raised
just-
100% Pentecostal.
I was
That's
too.
the same.
Oh,
My
Pentecostal.
grandfather-
We were talking about
100%
that.
Pentecostal. I was raised.
My
Church of
great-grandfather was
Christ.
a Pentecostal preacher. My aunt's a Pentecostal preacher.
You know, I helped plant a couple
We
churches
have-
that are
I
have-
non-denominational.
I have
yeah.
so many Pentecostal people in my church that are. My whole family literally went into being preachers. My daddy is the only. I think we're the only ones that didn't
Yeah.
go into
One of
Welcome
their-
down.
preaching.
Welcome to
100%.
But I do want to get, because I've had to, just through history and learning about history in
Yeah.
every aspect I possibly can, that's just what I'm deprived of. I'm still Christian. I still, I
I
believe.
believe.
I have my relationship with God. I don't go to church. I don't believe in church. I think it's a money grabbing thing myself.
I
You
do.
have to go to
When they
church
start
to
taking
believe
donations.
in.
But it does say iron sharpens iron, and it helps
Yes.
to have a community around you.
Well, that's
Yes.
where Escobar comes in.
And
Yeah.
with your
Escobar is
community.
literally turn a rock over, I am there.
Yeah.
Turn a bench over, I am there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can have
You can have church anywhere.
yeah, with the lake and everything like that. Yeah, like I literally, when I'm working out, I'll listen to like some sermons and stuff like that, and I'll kind of have church while I'm working out, and then like I wholeheartedly believe God does and can speak to you in that small voice. So I mean, like I believe that I speak in tongues. I have that.
I've
Yeah,
seen-
yeah. You've been there. But
And some people can.
Some people
it's a gift from God that you get if you want it. Yeah.
Well, I know that I had an experience when my husband passed.
Yeah.
I was so just, you know how you're just
Broken.
hopeless.
Yeah.
You're just empty. And I was taking a bath, and I just felt like I was just automatically just held.
Yeah.
And unless you know how that feels, you're just kind of like, what?
Yeah.
But literally, I felt like I was being held by water, and it was Jesus. And then my father passed recently, and it's just kind of one of those things of,
That's that same concept.
So I have
Yeah,
a
that's
couple
it.
things that have
Okay.
happened to me. Like I said, I've helped plant a couple churches, and I used to take notes during church, during worship and
yeah,
stuff
no,
like that.
for sure.
There was one day I literally sat down during worship, wrote word for word, tangents and all of what the pastor said, and I had no clue what he was going to talk about at first. Granted, we're close family friends.
Yeah.
But I didn't talk to him about what he was preaching that day or on a regular basis.
Mhm.
But I literally sat down and wrote word for word and went off on his little tangents, went off on everything that he said word for word before he preached it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's,
And then
that's
my-
insightful.
Yeah, and then my brother, when my grandpa died when I was 4 or 5,
Mhm.
he had a great relationship with him. He,
Got up and sat back and then they got up. Maybe-
like my grandpa, like sat on the edge of his bed and said, Alex, because my brother would like build coffins because he was having a hard time with it. He'd do it with pillows, he'd do it with like doors, he'd build coffins and sleep in them like that. Weird as hell.
Wow.
And my mom was getting scared, but my grandpa came to him after he died and said, Alex, you gotta quit. You can't do that. You're gonna get hurt. from that day on, hadn't built a coffin. Like he
So-
quit that night, and then he showed up. My grandpa showed up to my cousin sitting on a couch, and they didn't have a great relationship, but he was open to, you know, and he literally called his mom and he goes, "Mom, Grandpa's sitting on the couch right here."
Are we getting into
Yes.
ghosts
Well,
and
and
spirits?
she
Because
goes-
I love this.
And she goes, "What do you mean he's sitting on the couch? He's gone. He died." He goes, "I know, but he's on the couch, like right here with me." And she ran home, and by the time she got home, he was gone.
Yeah.
But there's stuff like that that's happened in my family, and
Yeah.
I've seen this a lot in, like,
so I think that proves that there has to be a God for that to happen.
Oh, for sure.
There has to at least be an afterlife for people who don't believe in God. Just for that sake of that,
So
there has to
here's-
at least be some sort of afterlife, you know?
here's a weird
Like, if you believe in God, you
paradox.
believe in God. That's great.
Yeah.
There-
But how would
people
there be
who
an
don't-
afterlife if
I'm
there's not a
listening.
God?
Where else
Here's-
are we gonna go?
Here's a
Heaven
weird,
and hell?
no, here's a weird paradox, and it took me a long time to fully comprehend or understand it. Be completely honest, it did. Because I didn't want to believe it. I didn't even want to think. I didn't even start looking into this stuff until I was probably 20, 21.
Yeah.
And that's when I
Yeah, you
started.
and me just because I asked.
But it wasn't even that. It's just the fact of I love learning new stuff. I love the anthropology side of learning cultures, learning their different behaviors, learning their stories. There's a paradox that light everybody talks about, don't walk into the light,
Yeah.
is just another operating room. And guess what? There's a reason you cry for so many months is because you're remembering all that stuff. So but then you finally forget it before you can talk or understand. Some of them do. Some people don't. Some people still.
don't, yeah.
So you're talking
Okay.
about like reincarnation?
Reincarnation. Thank you.
No, because that's a different deal. Reincarnation is a completely different deal.
True, but it's a
Out
type
of-
of
out
of-
reincarnation.
Out of body experience.
Not quite. When deja vu comes
I've
from
had
that.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I've had
Okay.
that so many times.
Like people that say, like that, no relation whatsoever. That Jacob Burger kid that said, he went to heaven. This is what it looks like. Blah blah blah. Books on it and stuff. Back in the early 2000s.
No, I remember that.
I never went to heaven, but I got to see. I shouldn't be here. Honestly, I shouldn't be here. I've had 3 different occasions where I had an out of body experience.
So you know that feeling when you feel like you're
Oh,
in
yeah.
a dream and you're lifting off, and all of a sudden you fall down and you wake up.
Yeah.
You know what? 90% of people
100%.
say that is
No.
angels picking you up and trying, and then you pull back down.
Because you're not ready yet.
This is stuff you learn when you start actually researching different.
Yeah.
Because this is all from different religions. I mean, some of
Yeah.
them
I
just put
love-
you on a post and let the birds eat you because that's what they think. Is
100%.
all it
Right.
is.
I was gonna say, obviously it wasn't reincarnation, but I don't know any other word to describe what you were talking about. But
Yeah.
that's what I believe in, is that when you pass away, you obviously are reborn at some point. It's you, it's your soul, it's your personality, but you were reborn at some point to relive again, have a different life, have a different idea and stuff like that. And obviously you have those deja vu moments where you remember oh, I've done this before. And either you're repeating your life so you can do it differently, you're not sure. Either you're repeating your life so you can do it differently, because obviously it's deja vu of the exact moment you're having, or it's something you've done well in the past, maybe, that you are now doing now in this time. And you just can't remember that deja vu exactly enough
So-
to know
The reason
the actual date.
I said no on the reincarnation. is
Right.
If you
It
look
is
into
a
the
different-
Buddhist and the Hindu,
Yes.
it's you're not reincarnated as a human. You're
Exactly, you're
reincarnated
reincarnated as-
into
Nature.
yes,
Or
an animal of
Yeah.
some sort, but you will not be reincarnated into a human. You only do
Exactly,
that once,
right,
which gives
so-
you the true value of being
Being-
one.
yeah.
Which is why they do all the stuff that they do.
Exactly.
You know what would be fun is to have a couple pastors on here and have this conversation with y'all.
Mm.
That would be fun.
You know what?
It
I
does?
wonder what
With
the
the
pastors
group,
yeah.
would say.
Like I would love to have a couple
my
pastors on.
pastor would, my personal pastor for my church, he wouldn't even have the conversation, and that's something I know from my Church of Christ. He wouldn't have the conversation. He would be like, I believe what I believe, and if you guys don't agree with me, I'm gonna walk out. So my pastor would not be a good choice, obviously.
So
but
I know
the
I
Church
have
of
many
Christ
pastor
is
friends.
so.
I
I
think
have a
it's
Church of
idle.
Christ. I don't
Yeah.
think more.
Y'all's Church of
more
Christ is so
would
much
do
better
that.
than my Church of Christ. Okay, so I went to Others Church of Christ by myself in KC with my grandparents, and they are a very close knit community. They are not very accepting of outsiders, but they are still Church of Christ. And
The whole point of church is to accept.
So,
I know that.
But,
I am
okay,
aware
that's gonna
of
bring
that.
me to my next point here in just a minute.
I am aware of that, but my church was very much like we knew who we knew, and it was a very familial church. So it was generations of
Gotcha.
family that
So
went
think
to
of
my
old,
church.
think of old
But
Sept.
anybody that came from outside of the church, they were very wary of because it could have been, we
It's-
didn't know what they thought.
So it's a lot like old Sept Amish.
Exactly,
Oh, yeah.
but it was
That's how
still
it is.
Church of
What's the other-
Christ.
But
Drink. Coke.
Oh,
What does he need from you? What,
Chuck.
Gabe? You? Oh, you.
Oh,
damn, okay.
Nick, it's in the fridge.
Where?
No, it's empty.
Over
It's
here.
out.
out of the fridge.
So,
You
but
know
yeah,
what?
it was very much of that like Amishy, but they were still labeled as Church
But-
of Christ
Yeah, but
and stuff. So
I,
it was,
what I mean by old Sept Amish is
yeah.
there's only one way and that's it. And you're
But there's not just one way.
That is
that's
exactly
gonna
how my
bring me
church
to my
was.
next-
Is that it was
that's-
just one way.
that's gonna bring me to my next deal because
For sure. I'll come
or
back. I
have-
think it's good for you to have a younger generation on
yeah,
this.
I do too.
That's why I was like sitting over there and I was like, I really want to say something because I have because you guys were talking about my generation.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm on the cusp of millennial to Gen Z. I'm obviously not Gen Z, but I'm like on that
Right.
cusp
Yeah.
just from where I was born
Yeah.
for being 21. So I think it's good for you to have that perspective of somebody younger along with your guys'.
And that's what I wanted. I
Exactly.
wanted someone older.
Yeah.
I wanted me. I wanted someone younger. I wanted. So
Exactly,
basically,
like a
whoever.
good amount of generations
Yes.
It's
to
just-
like sit here and
Yeah,
discuss.
it's a simple debate. It's a simple. It's not even.
It's
debate,
a conversation,
Yeah.
exactly.
There's not a lot of people in the world right now that
That
can
can do-
sit here and do what we're doing.
without getting pissed off.
Yes.
angry, and
Exactly.
throwing
But
each
the
other.
funny thing is, you and I have been able to do it our entire lives,
Oh, yeah.
and we're like really good friends. But we see things different, and we've never like.
It's
I was
not
gonna
a
say,
clash.
Yeah.
on my generation, and that's where I think our generations differ. I can sit here and I can say what I want, and I know if there are younger generations that watch this video,
Yeah.
they're gonna disagree with me and they're gonna get angry about it because that's what we know how to do. We know how to be angry. We know how to
I
protest
got-
because
I
that's
got-
the life that we've been living
But
right
that's
now.
not. That's
So
not.
these protests, and that's not a conversation, and
Yeah.
that's what frustrates me is that happens, and it's literally. I mean, obviously there'll be other people that'll do it,
Yeah.
but it's my generation. You're gonna see that influx of my people
Yeah.
my age that are gonna be arguing with me about
Yeah.
this because
See,
I want to
think they're more
I want to
educated
say
than
one
I
thing
am.
on that.
go ahead.
You said protest. Well,
Protest.
they've been doing recently, or not protest. That's
No,
what
that's
right.
just- that's
As soon as the first
Right.
brick was thrown, the
That-
first match was lit, the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
window that was broken, they should have been stopped right there. If they can sit there
exactly,
in
and
the street,
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
but hold on, if they can sit there in the street and yell and holler and hold signs, that's a
Peaceful
freaking
protest
protest.
is good.
But as soon as you throw bricks,
Yes.
start a fire,
Yes.
beat someone up, murder someone,
Yes.
that's not a protest. That's
Okay.
a
That's a
riot.
riot,
and-
exactly.
Let me say
Violence.
this in a little calmer
Sorry.
way.
I'm passionate about that.
No, I am too.
One, it is federally illegal. It is a federal law that you cannot protest in front of a Supreme Court justice's house or threaten
get that.
anything on it.
I get
It
that.
is. We can get into that a little bit later. But in general, on the protests you're talking about, which I'm thinking is BLM early 2020,
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
2020.
yeah.
or even the ones
Which
we had on
I
Roe v. Wade.
support, but not
No.
riots.
No.
The peaceful protests I support, not the riots.
Okay. Do you know what BLM spends their money on? Do you know
I
who
don't
has
know
it?
what BLM spends their money on,
There's
but I
three
don't want to
people.
offend anybody.
There's three people.
Go for it.
There are three people that
Mhm.
run BLM.
Mhm.
You know what they just did with
They're
what,
self-proclaimed
8 million?
Marxists as well.
$8 million.
What?
They bought a house, a mansion for $8 million with the funds that they were gifted, donated.
Isn't
into
that
the
supposed to
BLM.
go to BLM though?
No, it's supposed to go to NC.
Or
NCAA.
it's supposed to not BLM, but it's supposed to go to the the
Yeah,
community
they
that they're
spent-
supposed to be
they spent-
defending.
No, the three people. It's one guy, one girl. It's one guy and two girls. That actually run.
Yeah, yeah.
Other than the whole,
And they spent it on themselves?
Yeah.
they spent $8 million on a house in LA, and their justification was for it is, oh well, we'll allow any. I'm just gonna say black person, colored person, in. That's our justification for spending that. Now they're under a U.S. indictment for an investigation for fraud. Now,
I
two,
I didn't know that.
BLM.
Most people don't.
BLM isn't
Well,
even, BLM isn't even ran by any social justice group. In today's age, what social injustice does anybody other than white race? There's no such thing as white privilege. There isn't. There is no. I've lived broken.
I will agree to disagree with you on that. I'm not gonna argue with you on that. Okay.
I have seen personally the nicest people I have ever met and the best well-doing people that are, and I'm just going to use color. I can use black folk if you want me to. It doesn't matter.
Let's go yellow. Yellow people.
Just non-white become greatest people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Do the greatest thing they can. Nelson Mandela grew up poorer than poor. Did amazing.
Right.
Okay, it's not the society. It's the victimizing that they pull. It's the victimization that, as a culture, they think they are entitled because of someone that I had no doing it. None of I'm originally from France and Italy.
I was gonna say I'm from Germany and
My
Ireland.
wife's Mayflower white. Her grandfather was the governor of Plymouth.
Right.
Just said right.
Well, listen, I will agree to disagree with you on that point. Obviously, I have my own points because of how I was brought up and what I have seen. A lot of the people that I have met personally in my life, which is not as long as you, all the people that I have met that have been very kind to me and very nice to me and have not used privilege are people of color. However, the people that are the same color as me have been some of the meanest people that I have ever met in my life and have used their privilege to get what they want. And that is just because of my experience.
What do you mean by privilege on that? How is that
exactly
privileged? Is my question.
Okay, so
Okay, go ahead.
I walk into a store.
Mm-hmm.
I rob that store. You think I'm gonna get any lenient? You think they're gonna be lenient on me? No, I'm gonna get dealt the same hand. Guy I went to school with up in Alaska, pulled a gun on, killed. Boom, he white. Doesn't matter.
Right. Well,
but it's not a race thing. It's a culture thing. Why do you think so? Which I've seen this, and I have looked into this. You look at the projects.
Mm-hmm.
Who built those? The government. That's not a us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a government thing.
You look at row houses. Well, we didn't. That's not on us.
But who's in our government? That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about government. And I would say I've never dealt with anybody in their government, but like the people in our government that we see publicized.
And
are all.
And who are those places ran by?
There's actually
I know.
bi-colored.
Yeah, I know.
There's more
Colored than there
There
are
are
white.
But the ones that I have seen publicized personally are all white. The ones that come up on my phone.
Why wouldn't they? That's exactly.
And that's my point. And that's my point. That's my point.
And if you got a different opinion.
I mean, I don't want to argue. Like, obviously, you have your opinion, and I have my opinion. You know, like I'm not trying to like get.
Nicholas, can you give me some ice?
I just have a feeling that because
I'm obviously not super educated in politics. School does not teach us a lot about politics other than what is in history, and I don't choose to educate myself in politics because right now politics is a mess. As soon as I see that politics have become, I mean, I don't think they will, but you know, like I can't.
They're corrupt.
Yeah, exactly. They're corrupt, and that's all that I know.
So that's the thing, though. You don't want to be a part of politics, but how else are you going to change it?
Exactly, and I get that, and I'm aware of that. But it's hard for me to be a part of politics if I don't know anything that is, you know, like I don't. Hold on, wait. I know how I want to say this, but it's gonna sound wrong, and I have to figure it out.
No bother with me.
How am I supposed to be a part of politics if it is so corrupt right now that no matter what I do personally, as a civilian, will not change it? I could start a petition. I could start a protest. That's not gonna change anything. Politics are still gonna continue as they are continuing right now.
That's where term limits come in. You know why there are
It's
no
one
term
person.
limits?
One person to make a wave.
Yep.
And I get that, but it's not me.
So,
You know, so why would I put myself into that
I'm
situation?
just saying.
No, I know.
I want to go back for a second to where you said it was privilege. We didn't explain how that was white privilege.
We gotta go.
Okay, so I'm talking about like if I have have somebody that comes into my store, this was a policy in my store.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna say what store because I
That's
don't want to
fine,
get in
yeah.
trouble. But a policy in one of the stores that I worked in, if it was a white person that we suspected of stealing, we were not allowed to follow them around the store. We had to leave them as they were and just let them walk out. But if it was somebody that we suspected of stealing that was of a color, any color, that was not white, we had to keep an eye on them and follow them around the store. We had to.
That's
That's
store,
your company,
that's
yeah.
That's
company
and
problem.
that's the store policy, but that's just an example of
company
that
problem.
was from. And
That
I get
is-
that. I get that, but that's just where. And I'm not saying that that's government to privilege, but that's just in society itself. That's what I was trying to explain. In society
That-
itself, in a store, in a company, that's ridiculous. That shouldn't be happening.
I agree with
You
that.
know, like I disagree with that. That shouldn't be happening. Why
That's
would we do that? We should
everybody.
follow
Then bring it up.
everybody around.
Yeah.
It doesn't get heard though.
Make it
One
fair.
customer. That's my point though.
That's
It's
what-
one. That's what
you
was
meant
frustrating
by
because
it
I
takes
did.
one person.
It takes one person. But if anybody brings it up, it just gets brushed under the rug because that's company policy. You're too under the company to do anything. If you want to do anything, you have to get up in corporate.
If that
One
was
person.
the case, if that was the case,
One
I'm sorry to
person.
tell you this,
But
if
it's
that's
retail.
not the case,
My
there wouldn't have
action.
been a single woman ever in legislative. There wouldn't have been a single woman in NASA. There wouldn't have been a single woman
100%.
I
anywhere.
get that.
If they didn't
Stand up.
make it.
I get that. I get that, and I understand that. But I'm just saying, in the retail community, which is the retail whatever, it is so hard for you to get your opinion out that you just have to deal with it because this is how retail works. This is how our company works. You just have to deal with it. Retail is aside from government, and I don't want to get into like retail is like government because it's not. It's a very different thing. It's all
It's
about like
corporate is
monopoly.
all it
It's
is.
corporate and all that. Corporate is so corrupt with their own companies. There are so many companies that are so corrupt that they monopolize, that do all that sort of things, that it is impossible, that it's nearly like its own mini government,
Yeah.
you know, for you to be able to do anything.
So,
I couldn't say
It's
anything.
an
I was
example.
being
Let's-
sexually harassed at one of my other jobs, and it got nowhere.
But let's get
And I
back
had
to
to leave.
privilege.
Excuse me.
Let's
Okay.
get back to the privilege thing.
Right.
Well,
Obviously,
well,
privilege is more of a government thing, and I did not recognize that and understand that until y'all started
Okay.
explaining it. So I understand that, and I have, you know, like I
When-
get that.
When you look at interviews, you look at interviews of professors in a line all day long, and watch them all day long.
Mm-hmm.
All you hear when it comes to